I'm trying to explain to you, when they tell you get out of debt, that's stupid because the money is debt. And the only way money gets out of debt is via taxes. So all the people who work for money, if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what's lesson number 1? Money is debt. I use debt as money. And everybody thinks getting in debt is bad. Well, who told you that? I think the stock market is for losers. Why would you put money in the stock market when it's manipulated? That's what I think about. So I'm always watching the manipulation going on behind the scenes. That's what my brain is focusing on all the time. And I don't pay taxes. The question is, how is it I don't pay taxes? And I can tell you. That's an important question, because most Romanians and most people in the United States cheat on their taxes because they hate taxes so much. But you don't have to cheat on taxes if you understood how money was working. You think Donald Trump pays taxes? No, we don't pay taxes. That's the question. How is it we do that? That's an intelligent question. The reason you can't ask me this question because you don't know how I do it. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm constantly thinking about, how do I make money? How do I serve more people? How do I create new businesses, make more money, and pay less taxes and serve more people? You want to be an employee, you choose to be an employee. You want to be an entrepreneur, you choose to be an entrepreneur, but you've got to study. They're two different people. What you have to study is different. Mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, they're different people. An entrepreneur is extremely different than an employee. But it's a different study. The trouble is our school system trains us to be employees. Go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, pay your taxes, get out of debt, and invest in the stock market. That makes you poor. The system of banking, it's nothing to do with communism or capitalism. It's the banks run the world. The rich run the world. They don't care if you're communist or capitalist. So when you save, let's say you save $1 US or €1, 1 yen, the banking system can lend out 10. So the entire system is called the fractional reserve system. The fractional reserve system is also printing money. And then they tell you to save money. So they want you to save money so they can lend out your money 10 times. So your dollar became worthless 10 times over. And then they used to pay you 10% interest on your money. Now it's at best 1%. And they're still lending it out 10 times. So that's why you don't save money, is because your money is becoming worth less and less and less and less and less. The banks are getting richer and richer and richer. Then they tax you on that interest they pay you. That 1% interest, if they pay you that much. Japan is 0. And the Japanese are so stupid, they still save money. How stupid is that? So that's what I would question. So how come that happens? Now, if I borrow money, guess what? Do I pay taxes on debt? So when they lend out money, that's how money is created. Money is debt. They hypnotize people into being employees who will work hard, pay taxes, save money, get out of debt, and invest in the stock market. Until you question those sayings, those words, you'll be a poor person. So when they lend out them, why is debt tax-free? Because that's how money is created. And so the banks love it. They love people who borrow lots of money. So how do I get rich? I borrow money and I buy assets with it. The poor person borrows money and buys liabilities like purses, cars, houses, and they get poorer and poorer and poorer. But I use debt. I borrowed $300 million after the crash, dollars. In 2000, by 2010, I had borrowed $300 million to buy real estate. That made me rich. And the interest rates kept coming down, so that my cost of money kept coming down. And so everybody else is saying, oh, you should get out of debt. You know why? Because they don't question the hypnosis they're under. You've been hypnotized to work hard for money, to save it. The fractional reserve system prints it. And then you pay taxes after taxes. So I have all this debt and I get rich. So the question is, how do you learn to use debt to get rich? Because they tell you not to get out of debt. So all I'm saying to you is, if a person does not question what they've been taught, they will always be poor. They've been hypnotized into being poor. Then you put it in the stock market, in pensions, right? So let's say I put $100 in a pension plan. When do I get that money back? This is why I think, this is why I work, this is why I teach. You have to question what they're teaching you. So I put my money in a pension. I might not ever get it back because they could lose it. So the question I always say is, well, when do I get my money back? And the average person has been hypnotized. Go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, and invest in a pension. And you never get your money back. The whole thing was designed to keep you poor. So that's why I argue with you, until a person questions what's already been put in their head. And that's what my poor dad put in my head. Go to school, get a job, work hard. And that's America. The same as Romania. It's not any different. Save money, put it in the stock market. You never get your money back. Until you question what's already in your head, you will do what's already in your head.
Okay.
There is I don't know if people are Christian or not, but it's in the Bible, it goes, the words become flesh. Go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, get out of debt, invest in the stock market, buy a house, buy a car. Until you question that, you're hypnotized. You'll be a poor person all your life. I can make money much faster than Apple or Tesla. And I would use debt. I wouldn't use my money. Look at Amazon, this guy Bezos, right? He's one of the richest men in the world. Do you think he pays any taxes? Do you think Bezos became a billionaire paying taxes? He doesn't pay taxes. Trump doesn't pay taxes. I don't pay taxes. So the question is, how do guys like us do it, is the question you should be asking. We study different things. I wouldn't go to school. Why would you go to school when you learn nothing about money? You see, please understand, it's not just Romania. You must think, today, if people complain, I don't make enough money in Romania. Well, you have a cell phone, you can make money all over the world. You can make money in dollars, yen, zlotnik, pesos, It's just limited thinking. If a person doesn't change what's inside their head, the actual thoughts running their brain, which are words, they'll never change. So the change begins when you question. Until you question that one, nothing changes.
Debt is a four-letter word for most people. There are many people in my position, so-called financial gurus, who say live totally debt-free. And there's other people who say cut up your credit cards. And that's good advice for certain types of people. So you should definitely cut up your credit cards if you can't control your spending. You should definitely. But I don't know how people live without credit cards. I don't know how you can check into a hotel, rent a car, or go shopping, go out for dinner, but you should cut up your credit cards if you're a shopaholic. That's good advice. And the other thing about debt, there's good debt and bad debt. So this is going to be the lesson today, is there's good debt and bad debt. And if you only have bad debt, which I classify student loan debt as bad debt, the main reason it's bad debt is because it's the worst possible type of debt. You see, if I get into trouble as a businessman with debt, I can declare bankruptcy and I'm clean. But the trouble with student loan debt, you can't do that. It hangs around your neck for the rest of your life. They're going to study. I have two friends, they're both medical doctors. And they came out of school with $500,000 in medical debt, in student loan debt. But they paid it off in 5 years because they're medical doctors. They had high paying jobs. And so they delayed having families and all this, and their whole objective was to pay for becoming a doctor. So I joined Standard Oil of California as a shipping officer, and then I didn't have to join the labor union. But I only got $47,000 a year. That was the difference. The difference is Standard Oil is still sailing, and a lot of those labor union jobs are gone because the pay got too high. You know what I mean? So there's always a good and bad, and it's hard to understand that when you're younger. But I knew when I was 22 years old, I didn't care if they paid me $100,000 a year. I wasn't going to join a union. It was just principle. My father, poor dad, was head of the teachers union. And from what I saw, I didn't want to be a teacher, and I didn't want to be a union member. So it was kind of youthful exuberance on things. But anyway, today it's harder because you don't know what is this mysterious high-paying job. And even lawyers today are having a hard time because they don't need that many lawyers, which is a good thing. And there's artificial intelligence, which is replacing a lot of the high-end jobs. Like even accountants today, they don't need accountants because artificial intelligence can do a lot of the work for them. So that's why for your generation, student loan debt, I would say, is possibly one of the most important things you need to decide before you take on the debt. And number one, are you going to graduate? And number two, what are you going to graduate as? You know, I was pretty clear when I was about 15, I wanted to sail the seas. I sailed huge ships, you know, throughout the world. But that was a dream of a kid. You know, and by the time I was 22, I was tired of it. I didn't want to sail the world anymore. So I understand, you know, what it's like to keep, what they call it is finding your way in life. For me, it was really easy. There was a lot of jobs, economy was booming and all this, and it was easier. So you guys have got to be smarter. Thank you.